All right. Would you please stand? Welcome to today's Rotary meeting. Also includes a former president as our speaker, a new member. Exciting day to be here. And I'm going to ask GK Power to please come forward and lead us in the prayer and the pledge.
Please join me in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, as we gather together, we praise you for this day and your purpose for it. Please reset our agendas as we sit in your presence. Recalibrate our intentions and refocus our hearts. Help us to understand that we don't need full clarity to walk into the unique purpose you've inlaid in our lives, that you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning, every project, every season, every life. Thank you for your amazing power and work in our lives. Thank you for your goodness and for your blessings over us. Thank you that you are able to bring hope through even the toughest of times, strengthening us for your purposes. Thank you for your mercy and grace. Thank you for your incredible sacrifice so that we might have freedom and life. Our prayer today is that your will be done through this meeting. Take what we have prepared and multiply our efforts as only you can. Steer our intentions to align with your righteous will. Please shield us with your peace today. Keep us physically safe and guard our hearts and minds from evil. Thank you for the food that is provided for us and for the hands that prepared it. Bless this meeting, all those present, as well as those we will encounter afterward. Please ready us to make every moment count. In Jesus' name, amen. Oh, the pledge. Please, what do I say? Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Watch your step.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Watch out. You got it? Thank you, GK Powers, once again, and also our greeter today, the other half of the Powers team, Dawn Powers, and our registrar, Jordan Malwick. Let's give them a round of applause. You'll see kind of a list of our upcoming speakers here. We have a new addition there. We're fortunate to get Dr. Shrum. We're going to start the month slow with some guy, and then we're going to end the month strong with Dr. Shrum. So it'd be exciting. One of the highest ranking females in our state. It will be an honor to have her here that day. No My Rotary story today, but again, thanks to Keith May. Please see Keith May if you're interested in shooting a My Rotary story. Keith does a great job with those. Beth and Jessica are putting them on our YouTube station, so we appreciate them. Quick little public announcement, some club business. You'll see the hand sanitizer on your tables. Optional, respected, encouraged. Optional, encouraged, respected. Optional, respected, encouraged. Or we will continue to monitor the data. We will continue to offer a Zoom option. Andy, Beth, Jessica, Jordan Malwick donated his resources for the technology. And then again, we just asked somebody, it's on the honor code. If you've been exposed, then stay away for 10 days, a meeting or 2 meetings, or get a negative test. And we'll never know if you're on Zoom because you're exposed. We'll respect you. We'll never know if you're on Zoom because it's a busy day at the office and we have these people working hard. So any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to see Beth, not me. Just kidding. Just kidding. If you got any concerns, let's talk about it. And again, we appreciate everybody. This club's been nothing but helpful and professional. I know we'll continue. Clothing drive, Sunset Elementary. Chris Berry, anything you want to add? Keith? Okay, it's all in the brochure. Let's do our part next couple of weeks. Let's honor Stan Kelly and fill up Stan's closet. And we may hear some more about that here with club announcements. Again, August is membership drive. There's info in the newsletter. You can be rewarded with a gift certificate. If you're not receiving the weekly club email, I think everyone's got it now. See me, see Allison, or check your spam box, please. And then I'm so honored, this is my first time, to have a new member induction. So I'd like to call up Brett Town, our former superintendent, and our new superintendent, Dr. Grunwald.
Thank you, James. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Angela Grunwald to the group today. It was also my honor to put her forth for membership in this club. Angela and I's paths have crossed for the last 30 years, and I'll just tell you that I was an assistant junior high principal, and I was evaluating the English department, and she was a 7th grade English teacher, and one of the best teachers I've ever seen in the classroom. Then the district was fortunate enough to hire her as the Charles Haskell principal, and then she was promoted to the Sequoia Middle School principal. She left us for a few years, and then she went to some district level positions in other school districts, and then I was very fortunate to be able to hire her back. It was one of my first hires 7 years ago as the elementary director. So all I can tell you about Angela is that she epitomizes service above self, and I certainly wish her all the luck in the world, but I have full confidence and faith in her abilities to lead the school district going forward. So as today, I just would like to welcome her for induction to our group.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brett. We all appreciate everything you've done. It's been well documented. You're leaving this place in great hands for Dr. Grunwald. So, Angela Grunwald, you have been selected to become a member of the Rotary Club of Edmond as a representative of your particular profession. While it is an honor to have been selected, Rotary is extremely honored by your willingness to become involved. As a member of this club, you will have opportunities to serve the public through various programs, activities, not only locally, but worldwide through Rotary International. If you are willing to be an active participant, please say, "I am willing."
I'm willing.
I now take pleasure in welcoming you as the newest member of the Rotary Club of Edmond. You can say anything if you want to say anything. You want to say anything? Okay, sounds good. Sergeant at Arms today is led by Mike Sanders. For those of you that don't know, this is for people on Zoom. So.
Hello, Zoomers.
Hello, Zoomers.
Thank you very much. Do we have any club guests or visiting Rotarians here today? None? No? Okay.
David Dyer, retired engineer. I'm going to say a couple of things about himself.
Hi, it's good to be here. I am, as he said, a retired engineer. I've got time, so I'm traveling Route 66, headed for California. Whether I run out of time or run out of money first, I don't know. But one of my pleasures is stopping to see Rotary clubs along the way, so I'm glad I could be here today. I have been looking around Edmond, and one of the things I've been trying to do is find new ideas that I can take back to Vandalia to inspire us to get more lively and improve Vandalia. So I found a number of ideas here. I really like that you got art scattered all over the place. So my congratulations on Edmond as a city. I'm sure you folks have all had a part in it. Keep doing the good work, and let's keep service above self. Amen.
Thank you. Thanks and welcome. As you know, the Sergeant at Arms is charged with raising money for our scholarship fund. And Superintendent Angela, since you're a new member, I don't want you to miss it in perfect attendance, so I'm going to ask you to kick in $1 today, or Brett to kick it in for you. Any other announcements? James, anybody? Okay. A little history lesson. Oh, before I do that, I watched people build hamburgers today. And I saw some Dagwoods, so I want to congratulate all of you that did that. But the best hamburger I saw belonged to Keith May, and it's a hamburger patty with ice cream on top of it. So, congratulations, Keith. Yeah. It's not on your plate now. So. Little history lesson. Anyone know what happened on August 11th, 1934? Nobody? Kind of ties into our guest today. They opened Alcatraz as a federal prison on August 11th, 1934. They've had 1,500 prisoners today, and not counting Clint Eastwood or Sean Connery, anybody know who the most famous prisoner in Alcatraz was? Al Capone, correct. And why was he there, Commissioner Jolley?
Tax evasion.
Tax evasion, that's what put him in prison, not all the murders and all that other stuff. Former prisoner number whatever. So really today is a jolly good day to be the Sergeant at Arms, no pun intended. I had the pleasure of joining Rotary when Clark was president, and I served on the board, and that was in the 6-7 year. Very good year for our club then. I think Clark entertained us at our Christmas party with his piano talents, and it was a really great time, so it's good to see you back. Kind of in honor of you being here today, I went out on Ancestry, and I was trying to figure out how you ended up as the tax commissioner, so I went back in time, and you are very well suited for this. So on Ancestry.com, do you know that you are related to the disciple Matthew? Yes, and he was a tax collector, yep, back in the day. And in the 1500s, several of your ancestors were called privateers, right? And they sailed the 7 seas, and they collected tribute, which was then called taxes for us today. And so what I did is I had the opportunity to look up your coat of arms. So I brought you a true coat of arms from your family. And it's my pleasure to present this to you today. And I expect you to display this in your office on a regular basis.
Thank you. The colors are right.
That's right, okay, good.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, Clark, so what's the Oklahoma state tax rate? What's the max rate?
Well, it's going to go down to 4.75, I believe, but right now it's
5%. So what I'd like for you to do is kick in $5 today to our fines, please. And for all of the rest of you here today, I'd like... And all of the rest of you here today, I'd like for you to go ahead and make your quarterly estimate. So I'd like $1 from each of you, and Clark has promised me you can take it off your tax return when you file it. So just send into the state $1 less, but I'd like to pick up $1 each for our scholarship fund. Thanks very much.
Any announcements from the floor? Anyone? Everyone's scared to talk. Mike, thanks. While Mike's making the rounds, I'm gonna ask Andy Lester to come up, and I got a couple of announcements for the group. First, Jessica, let's say hi to our friends on Zoom. Again, former president from Lawrence, Kansas. Hello, Phil Arnold, Steve Murdoch, Scott Kopenbarger, Barry Bell, Jeff Despain, Ray Hibbard, Linda Banks, Chuck Musgrave, and Louis Bremer. Hello to all of our Zoomers. We're glad to have you join us. I think that's it, right, Beth? All of them? And then lastly, I'm excited to give an update from Tim Richardson on his lovely bride. They're going on day 20 at the hospital. She's out of ICU, and this was this morning's update from Tim. I'm going to read it out loud. This is great, and we all miss Tim and love him. Surprise, hospital rehab came quicker than we expected. We are excited, but also scared. Excited to take the next step. Excited that some might be in the next week, that we could go home. Scared that it will be hard. Scared that it will be unknown. We feel that we are on the high dive at the swimming pool. Psalms 4:9. In the night she needs to sleep. After a full day, give Susan rest and sleep. That's Tim's prayer request for the day. So those of you that are following on Facebook, and continue to keep Tim and his lovely bride in your prayers. At this time, Andy Lester.
Yeah, just bring it back to me.
Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our special guest today. You've seen the brief biographical information on Clark Jolley. For those of you, if there are any of you who don't know him, and I'd find that almost hard to believe, but there may be a couple of you that are very new to Edmond, but Clark Jolley has been, first off, he was, as mentioned, a former president of this club. He either was had the courage or the foolishness, I'm not sure which, to ask me to serve as his sergeant at arms. You may have heard a reference that I didn't charge him $5. The very first day of Clark's presidency and my term as sergeant at arms, I did something that I don't think had ever been done in this club before, and I fined the president. He took it so well that I think I fined him pretty much every meeting that we had afterwards. I may have missed one or two, but it wasn't because I didn't try. And he did a great job. He did a great job, so great a job as president, believe it or not, when it was my turn to serve as president, and that started because of Clark. I asked him to be my sergeant at arms, and he agreed, and well, he sort of got even with me. But Clark served in the state senate for 3 full terms, the maximum that one can serve right now, from Edmond, representing Edmond. He did a great job there. You see that he's noted for several things, one of which was for being a friend of education, including higher education, which is very near and dear to my heart. Even near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to tell you a personal story that I think explains who Clark Jolley is, at least to me, and I hope it does to you too. But I ended up being nominated to serve on 2 different boards 3 times, twice for the A&M Board of Regents and one for the state regents for higher education. And each time Clark Jolley was absolutely critical, fundamental to those appointments. The first time, though, in particular, he carried my nomination twice. The third time he didn't carry it because my house was redistricted outside of his district. But frankly, he's the first one who approached me about even serving on the state regents. But I want to go back to that first one because most of you don't know this story, and it's an interesting story. This was in 2007, and the state senate was divided 24-24. Sounds sort of like the U.S. Senate now, but it was divided 24 Democrats, 24 Republicans. They had pro tems of the Senate, and believe it or not, one of the most controversial issues, and it didn't really go outside of the building, but one of the most controversial issues ended up being my nomination to be on the A&M Board of Regents, and Clark's carrying my nomination. And, you know, it would have been very easy to have given up on it, just not to go very far into the weeds of it, but The Democrats locked up against me. It had very little to do with me. It had to do with my party registration and some other event that had nothing to do with me, but another person who was up for a different nomination losing in a committee vote on a 7-7 tie. And they decided to retaliate. I'd been nominated by Brad Henry, who's a Democratic governor, so you wouldn't think that that would have been so controversial, but I ended up being the controversy. And I had 5 Republicans who were not going to vote for me. Again, it really had little to do with me, but there was just politics going on. And we got a couple of Democrats to break ranks, and Clark Jolley stood by me the entire way. And he didn't have to do that. Yes, he was carrying the nomination, but he did not have to do that. And it wasn't just that he stood by me the entire way, but he fought, he cajoled, he urged, he prodded. And at one point, based on Clark Jolley, and I bet Clark doesn't even remember this, but based on Clark talking to this particular senator who was pledged to vote against me, that senator called me and told me, because of Clark talking with him, that if push came to shove and his vote was needed, and we didn't know, I mean, it could have been very much needed. Although he was pledged to vote against me, he would vote for me because of Clark Jolley, because that's the type of guy that Clark Jolley is. He's a good friend, a good person, and he's the type of guy, I don't know who I really want to be on a tax commission. We all can laugh about that, right? Clark Jolley's the type of guy I want to have on a place like the Tax Commission. I'm thrilled that he's there, and I'm particularly thrilled to have him here as our speaker today. Please give a warm Edmond Rotary Club welcome to our friend, Clark Jolley.
Thanks so much, Andy. That was very kind. That was very kind. Thank you, Andy. It's good to be here. I'm probably going to take this out and not stand right in front because I'm a little tall and I probably will obstruct the view for some of you on the PowerPoint, but it's good to be here. It's my history with this club and the people in this club goes back quite a ways. Before I was a Rotarian, I was in high school with our chief of police. And to go back even further, Susan Richardson, Pastor Richardson's wife, was my first grade elementary music teacher, and was my favorite elementary music teacher that I had. And I was really sad when Tim got a pastorate somewhere and they had to leave and move. But it's good to be with everybody here. I've got a lot of stuff to try to hit, and I'm going to try to do my best to hit as much of it as I can. I'll try to go as quickly as I can, but still try to make sense in some sense of the matter. But it is good to be with you. I think it was Will Rogers that said, "Beware of anyone who says they're from the government and they're here to help." Well, the Tax Commission, that's actually one of our parts of our mission our mission is actually to serve the people of Oklahoma. It's actually to serve the people of Oklahoma. And we do that by promoting tax compliance through quality service and fair administration. We're still working on that, and we're never going to get completely there, but we are trying to get there. And some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today, I think are reflections of our desire to move the ball and get better at it. We are a 3-person commission. That commission is currently made up of myself. Governor just named me as the chairman of the commission a month or 2 ago, and I'm honored to serve as the chairman now of the Oklahoma Tax Commission. Our vice chairman is Shelley Polk. Shelley is a former educator, was a principal of a small private Christian school, as well as a teacher before that. And then she spent years in state service and eventually became the Oklahoma State Budget Director at the Oklahoma Management Enterprise Services Agency. Charlie Prater, many of you may know Charlie. He's here. He's from here in Edmond. Charlie, you may, if you don't know Charlie personally, you may remember he ran for auditor. And came in a very, very tight race against Cindy. But Charlie currently serves as our secretary member of the commission. These 3 individuals are appointed by the governor. We are confirmed by the Senate. We serve 6-year terms, and we are not allowed to be partisan. We can't hold any political office. We can't raise money for any political purpose. We have to stay away from politics completely, which has been really, really nice when I've gotten phone calls from people saying, hey, would you like to sponsor or fundraise for me? And it's like, statute says I can't, sorry. My wallet is a lot thicker than it otherwise would be because I haven't, I've had that insulation that statutorily is required. A tax commissioner cannot be impeached. A tax commissioner cannot be fired. A tax commissioner cannot be gotten rid of in any way unless we are convicted of a crime. And there's a reason why it's set up that way. And it's to insulate the commissioners from politics. We are not a political agency. We should never be a political agency. Our job is to enforce the tax code and do it with excellence and do it only to the extent that the statutes allow. If you allow for politics to get in and the governor can call you up and say, hey, I've got a friend, he's one of my donors, he's got a case before you, I'd like for you to go ahead and forgive some of his taxes. That's not a very good position to be in. Oklahoma is unique in that we have a commission instead of just having a Secretary of Revenue or having some type of a single individual that's named by the governor. That insulates people quite a bit where they can do the right thing instead of what's politically expedient. So we have 6-year terms, and then we're subject to reappointment and reconfirmation by the Senate if the governor wishes to reappoint and if the Senate wishes to reconfirm. This is our administrative structure. There's three areas that report directly to the commission. We have our own attorney that advises us separate from our general counsel's office, but provides us assistance in writing opinions and briefs and orders. One of the main functions of a commissioner is to act as a tax judge. Our opinions are appealable directly to the state Supreme Court, and oftentimes they are appealed directly to the state Supreme Court. So it would be nice if our legal writing is, decent. There's no requirement that any of us be an attorney on the commission, and so that function of counsel to the commission helps make sure that what we write and what we present to the appellate court is in line with statute and ready for appeal. We also have an internal audit division. That internal audit division makes sure that the rest of the agency is doing what it's supposed to, and if there's areas of improvement, that's what internal audit does. IA reports directly to the commissioners. And then lastly, we have a team of 3 administrative law judges that hear disputes between the agency and taxpayers, and then they resolve those disputes to the commissioners, and the commissioners decide whether to accept, reject, or amend the findings, conclusions, and recommendations that our ALJs give. But the bulk of the agency, all of our divisions that you see listed here, fall under an executive director, and that executive director is responsible for the day-to-day management of the agency. I do not manage the day-to-day operations, because if I did manage the day-to-day operations and then a case comes before me that impacts that, then I'm conflicted. I have a conflict. I can't be unbiased and sit as a judge and say, okay, well, should we have done it that way? What's the right way of doing it? My job as a commissioner is to look at the overall direction of the agency, make sure we're moving in the right direction, and then select an executive director to go out and get that mission and get that vision accomplished. And statutorily, that executive director does not work for the governor. That executive director works for the 3 commissioners and serves at their pleasure. So we are very unique in the United States in terms of the way we are structured. I believe we are the only commission that has an executive director administratively handling day-to-day operations. The other commissions, the commissioners actually handle the day-to-day operations. We have reduced our footprint of personnel dramatically in the last decade. You can just see over the last 11 years, 804 was our number of full-time employees that we had in fiscal year 10. We are now down to 597 employees. We have radically increased our use of technology, and that's helped us tremendously in being able to reduce our FTEs. What do? Every hour we process $5.9 million that comes into our office, and we apportion and we send it exactly where it's supposed to go. Our folks are busy getting those things done for the taxpayers. Electronic dollars, $11.6 billion of those dollars came in electronically. And so we're moving greatly to more of an electronic model, which is very helpful. Our number of tax returns is up. When you think of income tax, it's not just residents, it's non-residents that also file income tax returns. Our income tax returns, we were up to 2 million for tax year 2020, which was an increase from 1.7 just 3 years ago. How much are we bringing in for the state of Oklahoma? Well, our gross collections, you can see back in FY10, we brought in around $9 billion for the state. And as of FY20, we're bringing in right at $13 billion that comes into our office, and then we figure out, based on what the statute says, where do each one of those dollars go. You can actually track this every day on our website, and I'll talk more about our website here in a moment, but we publish every day how much came in and where did it go. We also publish that monthly, and we have comparisons so you can know, is the economy going better? Is the economy going slower? We try to make sure that we keep all of that publicly available for people to be able to inspect and look at. So where did it come from? This is where our money as a tax commission, our collections, this is where we collect our money. You can see the gold individual income tax is the largest one at 34%. And then you've got state sales tax and use tax at 30%. Now I would tell you probably about roughly 15% of that is going to be kept by the state. 15% of that's going to go back to cities and counties for their operations. But we collect all of it, and then we send it back to the cities and counties. You've got everything from gross production, which is a whopping 8% right now of our total. Vehicle taxes and fees, another 8%. Then you got beer and alcohol down here. You've got all these different areas. This is where our money comes from. But where does it go? We send the money to these locations. 61% of everything we come into goes to the state general revenue fund. And then that general revenue fund is appropriated by the legislature. We apportion it to the general revenue fund, and then the legislature can appropriate out of the general revenue fund. The legislature tells us where to apportion, but when they talk about the appropriations bill, they're not talking about apportionments. They're only talking about that amount that is appropriated by the legislature. Last year it was a little over $7 billion, I believe. We send a whole bunch to education. This, you've got the Education Reform Fund. It's also called the 1017 Fund. Angela and Brett are very familiar with the 1017 Fund. We also have the Roads Fund, which is inside of this 23%. That's about $700 million, I believe. We've got all of these different funds that make up, a little bit if you accumulate them together. Like I said, we send some money directly to cities and towns. Some of the gas taxes you pay go to cities. Some of them goes to towns. Some of it goes to counties for road and bridge maintenance. We apportion and we send all that $13 billion every day to these different funds. And we've got a spreadsheet that if we printed it out in really small print, it's about this big around, and it shows all the different areas of apportionment that we send dollars to every single day. We also process tax credits, and there are a lot of tax credits. I would generally say from just a policy perspective, we have too many tax credits. But which ones do you want to get rid of? That's where it becomes a difficult political question the legislature has to deal with. The new jobs credit, the Oklahoma investment credit, we had over $500 million claimed just in that one credit. And you got child care tax credit, zero emission, earned income credit. That amount is going to go up now because it was non-refundable. Now it's going to be refundable, so you will be able to get more money back than what you paid in. Aerospace is a big one. That has been a highly successful program. You've seen the headlines where we've brought in Boeing employees from Seattle. And just if you ever drive over in the Tinker Air Force Base area, you can see the result. We have radically increased our aerospace footprint, and in large part due to this credit. We are making way more than $25 million a year from those aerospace employees being here. I think that's a credit that clearly has worked. I actually worked on that when I was in the Senate to make sure we do it. We are trying to modernize who we are and how we do it. This is just one example. This is our logo. You can see the lovely font of Copperplate Gothic Bold, which was a very popular font for the 1950s, 1960s. It's got the state seal behind it. We haven't changed our logo. We haven't changed anything. We haven't rebranded. We haven't done anything. Our forms are boring. Our font is not that easily read. So we've modernized, we've adopted, we've actually gone along with the Lieutenant Governor's branding initiative. And so we now have our new logo that incorporates our state branding. But that's just the cosmetic. We've done a lot of other things. One thing we did that is saving us a lot of money every year is we actually we moved. We had a great opportunity to purchase 9 floors in what used to be the Sandridge Tower. Ironically, it is where my mother and my father both worked and met. So I am working in the same building that my mother and my father both worked in when they met. We had the opportunity to buy 9 floors, plus all the technology, plus all the furnishings for $9 million. And we were able to pay cash out of some of our revolving funds. We're saving $1.9 million a year in our real estate costs because we now own our space instead of renting it from OMES. That's money that you'll see here in a little bit we're able to repurpose. It's also, we've reduced our real estate footprint by 23%, and we've actually been able to improve employee morale and productivity by putting people actually in places that have windows instead of basements that have none. We don't have people putting statute books on top of the air conditioning and heating vents because it's either blisteringly hot or freezing frigidly cold, and not necessarily in the right seasons either. So we have 9 floors in what is now called Strata Tower at Oklahomans, but we all know it as the Kerr-McGee building or the Sandridge building, depending on how old you are. So that's one way in which we've modernized a lot of our operations. I can't tell you enough how much that move has improved our employees' morale and their productivity. They are excited, they're happy. It has radically changed the environment that they operate in. We also have introduced OK Cars, which allows you now, you can do just about anything you need to do at a tag agent online 24/7 in your pajamas. You want a specialty tag, you can pick it, you can design it, you can play with the lettering, you can look at it, you can order it, you can renew it. You want to renew your boat, your trailer, your motorcycle, your commercial fleet. You want to update your address. You want to get a duplicate of your title. You want to get a copy of your registration. All of those things you can now do 24/7 at OK Cars. And just this last month, we have introduced a chatbot feature that will help you if you have a question. You can type in what you're doing or what you need, and it will help you figure out, okay, here's what we think you might need. We're very excited about that. We've also moved our Taxpayer Resource Center. If you ever plugged in the Oklahoma Tax Commission's address, our old address, into Google Maps or Apple Maps, you would never get to our office. It would take you around the Capitol and then in different parking lots, and you would almost never make it. Then you had to walk through an incredibly, horridly bad landscaped area that has tree branches and leaves all over the place to go into a small, cramped, we called it the horseshoe, where there's plexiglass and there's a sign-in desk and a security guard, and you're right next to your neighbor, and it's the most modern, beautiful thing that 1960s government buildings would offer. We now are in the Oklahoma Taxpayer Resource Center that we have. It's at 300 North Broadway. We offer free parking. So just go in, get your parking ticket, bring it to us. We will validate it for you, not for Thunder games, but to come see us. We've got an advanced reservation system that we're working on that should be coming out here shortly. Spacious seating, guest interactions, device charging. We've tried to make it more like going to the Genius Bar at Apple than it is going to the DMV in Croatia. I mean, we're trying to make it. No offense to those in Croatia. We're trying to make it better. We've also radically changed our approach to social media. When I came on the commission, our social media and our digital communications marketing folks, their idea was, we don't want to post anything except we're closed for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and we will reopen on this day. We don't want to put anything because people say negative and hateful things to us. We have radically changed that approach. We are not going to be afraid to get on social media and talk to our taxpayers, talk to them and have conversations. And it has been working. We now are doing Facebook Lives. That's our most recent one that we did. Dave Francis in one of our divisions, who's our sales tax expert, he and I did our second Facebook Live. So we've been doing them now for literally just over a year. On the sales tax holiday, what can you claim, what can you can't claim, how does it work? Answering questions. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. We have seen a dramatic increase. We've seen a 51% increase in followers. We've seen a 364% increase in taxpayer engagement. And those aren't just people saying, you guys really are horrible and you're really bad, and can I get somebody who isn't an idiot to talk to? It's they're actually, their responses, their likes, their follows, their shares. We're really, really pleased with what we're doing. And our direct messaging within the social media platforms of taxpayers asking us questions for resolution has increased just in the last year by 87%. So we're really pleased with that. Along with that, we also decided to retire our old website. We reduced the sheer number of pages on our website by 90%. We went from 600 pages on our website to 60. Our previous website was just link after link after link after link after link, and probably 10 to 15% of them, you would click on it and you'd get a dead response. Nothing's there. And so we're really pleased we've got this new website that has just been really well received. A couple of things, we're getting rid of taxpayers getting multiple letters a day. In FY 2020, for example, there were 135,000 taxpayers who got more than one letter from us on the same day. One of them was a company who got 454 letters on one day from the tax commission. All done just automatically. We got to send them out. So we're just going to do it. Well, we've collapsed that. Guess what? We've saved on our mailing costs. We've saved on our printing costs. And we're not nearly as annoying as we possibly could be. We've adopted e-correspondence to allow taxpayers to opt in to getting their 1099-Gs and other documents from us electronically. We will become this month the first state in the country to adopt a new, robust fraud identification verification system to prevent and crack down on fraud. We're modernizing our Oklahoma Taxpayer Assistance Portal to provide more options, and we'll actually have that by October. It'll be brand new. We've brought outside collections inside, and we've actually brought in 13.44% more in a year by doing that. We've increased payment plans. These are the taxpayers who are 3 to 5 years or more behind in taxes. We were sending them to an outside collection agency. We thought, well, let's see if we can do it better and do it differently. And we've seen good results there. Just one note, we stopped 27,000 fraudulent refund requests in 2019 that totaled more than $10 million in fraudulent refund requests that people tried to send to us. One of the things we're really pleased about, and we used part of the savings that we realized from not having to pay rent every month and every year. OTC employees were among the worst paid in the Oklahoma state government. We couldn't keep our good employees because they would go to the private sector or they would go to another state agency. We radically improved and brought our employees up a lot closer to the state average. This is how underpaid they were. We had 376 of those 579 employees that were below the state market average, and their average, they were beneath the state market, was $6,292 a year. That's how much we were underpaying them. And in the first year, we were able to bring them up just to the state market average, not the private sector average, but the state market average. And then for those making more than $50,000, we were able to bring them halfway up to the average, which was an average increase of $3,000. This has changed radically our ability to keep good employees and not lose them to other sister agencies across state government. And we did that with an 8% cut in appropriations. So try to wrap it up here. Some good news about Oklahoma taxes and just some things you might find interesting. The Tax Foundation publishes every year the Tax Freedom Day, the day that you are done paying taxes to the federal government and to the state government. Oklahoma has the second earliest date in the year currently. The only state that beats us is Alaska. By March 30th, all the money you earn has gone to taxes, federally, state, and local. After that, you get to keep it. We are nowhere near Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, some of those others that are in the bottom 10. Lowest state and local taxes, we have incredibly low taxes in Oklahoma on the state and local. So your sales tax, your property tax, we're actually the 5th lowest in the country. In terms of highest sales tax, though, we got some work to do. We're the 7th highest in the country, but we're not Illinois. But that's because we don't let cities do anything but sales tax to be able to finance themselves. We are actually the 29th highest property tax, which means we're in the bottom half. But in terms of collections, we're number 49. Our rate might be the 29th highest, but our property values, as our realtor friends know, you can buy a lot of house for not as much money in Oklahoma. We are now the 7th lowest income tax state, and as I was mentioning to Mike earlier, we will be going now to 4.75%, which is $152 saved for every person. If you have any questions, we do have a brand new website. You can access it on your phone, your mobile device, your iPad, your Galaxy, whatever those things are, and as well as your Mac, your PC, whatever. I don't know if we have time for questions. That is a lot of data to try to squeeze in, but I'm really proud of the work that our team is doing at the Oklahoma Tax Commission. We do want to serve Oklahomans. We want to collect every penny that is owed to us, but we don't want to collect one penny more than that. And the more that we can do to try to encourage taxpayers to do their job and do it right, the less chance there is that they're going to be charged penalty and interest. And we've got to do it right on our side as well. And we're trying to get there. That ball is going to consistently move, but we're going to keep on chasing it to try to do the best we can for Oklahoma and for our sister taxpayers. With that, James has already gone like 5.
Any questions? No, I had a quick question though.
Yes, Jessica.
In your calculations of what you guys bring in, I know there was also alcohol and tobacco. Is medical marijuana, like the taxes on that? Can you speak to that? Like, what it is it enormous? Is it a little bit?
It's smelly, and I'm not kidding. We actually had a major security concern about that. We are responsible for collecting the medical marijuana tax, and that money is then apportioned to the Medical Marijuana Authority and to the Health Department. Our 2 executive directors ago did an amazing thing. He was able to work a deal out with Bank First that people could bring the medical marijuana taxes to Bank First, and Bank First would deposit it into an account for the state, much like the tag agents have to do every day. Before that, we were, no joke, we had people bringing in black, hefty bags full of cash to our horseshoe and sitting there with not just one, but with bags of smelly cash that needed to be laundered in a different way. We no longer have that issue. They still bring it by, but if there's a Bank First near, you can process through that. But yeah, we collect the money and then we apportion it to the Healthcare Authority, the Department of Health and the Medical Marijuana Authority. Yeah, back in the back.
How is the search for the executive director replacing Jolley?
How is the search for the executive director what?
How's that going?
We actually have narrowed down a list of candidates for the first round. And we'll be setting up interviews. We actually did that yesterday. We narrowed down to 4 candidates that we want to have some more conversations with. We're keeping the position open, and if those 4 candidates aren't the right person to lead our agency, we'll keep it going. Brett?
How does McGirt follow here? Because we all just the criminal part of it.
That's the end of my time today. Let me, the question is about the decision on McGirt versus Oklahoma. Let me say this. We, at the request of the governor's office, published a report that was hastily but competently put together. The consequences of McGirt, if it is not applied just to the Major Crimes Act, the consequences of McGirt are beyond what can be described. It's not just a fiscal challenge, it's a regulatory challenge, it's a human services challenge, it's an infrastructure challenge. It's, if you have a target in Creek Reservation territory, do you have to collect sales taxes for the state of Oklahoma or for the Creek Nation? Or do you have to collect sales taxes for both the Creek Nation and the state of Oklahoma? Who do you pay your property taxes to? If you have a job and you live in Indian country, do you have to pay income tax? Well, what if you're not a tribal citizen? The consequences of McGirt, who has control over oil and gas drilling? The consequences are, it is something that absolutely we have to have, my opinion, we have to have an agreed compact with the tribes, or we have to have congressional action, because I would not be surprised if McGirt was applied outside of the Major Crimes Act. That will be a challenge that is unique to Oklahoma, that I don't know the way out of it. We will be in protracted litigation for decades to figure out where those boundaries are. And McGirt should not just concern commissioners of the Oklahoma Tax Commission. McGirt should concern every citizen of the state of Oklahoma, including tribal citizens, because those tribal governments may be getting responsibilities for things that they are not ready for and they don't have the infrastructure for, and they've never done before. And it's not just, well, does somebody go on the sex offender list or not when they were convicted in a district court versus a tribal court. It is a mammoth challenge. Our next Attorney General, whoever that may be that's elected, is going to have 4 years to start the process. I know our current Attorney General is working on it. It is the greatest challenge to face our state, I think maybe ever, because it really questions what are the borders of the state of Oklahoma. One last question, if there's any. Going. Thank you so much for letting me do it, you guys.
Thank you, Clark. Once a senator, always a senator. Thank you, Senator Jolley. On behalf of the club, just go home tonight, buy something on Amazon, let Clark's team collect use tax. They'll send it to Andy. That's the way the process works. Support Edmund. But thank you again for all you're doing for your team to make their work life better, so their morale's better, so they're nicer to people when they need help. Pretty simple. So in your honor, we are going to donate a book to the Ida Freeman Elementary, and you know the deep history with this club. And I know we're running a little late here, but it's what happens when you have a former senator. But this is important. This is Clark's message to the kids at Ida Freeman. Dream big and know that you can do anything. So thank you for that message. And our scholarship drawing, if you will do the honor. And we're looking for the King of Diamonds in honor of Buddy Morris. And the last 4 digits, 3500. 350. All right. Our previous secretary, Tom. The King of Diamonds. King of Diamonds. And by the way, if you win, you're going to be taxed on part of this.
That's true. Do you have any diamonds on you, King?
No.
No? Okay. Let's try this one right here. 9 of clubs.
They're safe from being taxed today.
I got more money in my pocket.
Our next speaker will be Chris Berry with the Hope Center. With that in mind, at 1:08, we'll have a board meeting. They're always open to the membership. Go out and be great Rotarians.